Hi, good morning. This is the Bitcoin Morning Brief. This is DJ Princess Leah, as you can tell, here with DJ Tone Biz.
Awesome. Actually, it was just DJ Tone.
Oh,
And now that you reminded me, oh wow, reach grab one of those like black folders.
okay.
Either one.
Yeah.
The big black books. Can't believe you went with the DJ side.
Okay.
Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, and I just closed it. That's smart, Tone.
All right.
Hey, there they are. Look.
Oh my gosh. There's a lot. There. Okay. You should show that. That's
Boom. I was like raiding my parents' attic the other day. So here you go. The old DJ Tone albums.
There's like 5 other like suitcases.
Oh yeah, the other one's much bigger. Well, like you got the small one.
Oh god. Okay, yeah. Jamie,
How did I know you would be into hip hop, Tone? Like I like that. That's just like kind of. I don't know why, but I knew that would be the case.
Jimmy, it's only 90s hip hop and R&B, nothing else.
No, not 90s. No, 2000s. 2000s.
90s.
Okay, so not the I like big butts, but something else. I don't even know. I have no idea what. I don't listen to music, so it's kind of hard for me to tell.
So sorry to make this pun again, but I think that DJ Tone together with DJ Song would be an amazing duet. Like I would go.
Oh my god. All right. Well, let's get this started.
All right. We got the live chat going. We got this. All right. And let's go straight into screen share. I'm going to share that one. Wait. Where is it? There it is. And we're off and running.
All right.
All right. Starting with Square. Yeah, we are starting with Square. Wait.
Mm-hmm. There you
go.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting show.
Right. So, all right. This is a difference. So Square, it's really interesting. They have reported that, so specifically, they made 34.1 million in Bitcoin, but they spent 33.9 million, which is obviously a tiny margin. So it's just showing, at least regarding their Bitcoin balances on the books, it's not doing very well. So I'll go to you, Jimmy. Especially with you having ties to your VC world, what do you think about this? Should they continue? I'll just let you. What do you think about the story?
Well, I mean, they're trying to gain customers, right? And this is the beginning part of their curve, and they're reducing their fees, so the revenue is going to be high, but the profit margin is going to be low. But this is a way to get people in, and then they can jack up the prices when everyone's addicted to buying Bitcoin off their app. But I mean, like Amazon's done the same thing for many years now. Who knows when they'll like really make the big profits that they're projecting. This is normal for any business. You don't make that much money, but you make it up in volume eventually. And I imagine I love their app. The only thing that I can't freaking get to work is to actually withdraw my Bitcoin. So I have a Bitcoin balance on there, but they keep not approving my face. Like you have to take a picture for KYC purposes, but I don't know. I've taken it like 7 times and nobody, if anyone at Square is watching, can you please approve so I can like go extract my Bitcoin?
Yeah, I'm having.
Are you wearing the cowboy hat?
Maybe that's what I need
I'm having the same issue with since we're talking about Square and Jack Dorsey, having the same issue with Twitter giving me one of those check marks. I keep like
I haven't gotten a check mark either. What the hell, Twitter?
I keep reporting imposters, and I keep telling them they keep rejecting my like driver's license and picture.
Yeah, same here. And like and Jack Dorsey follows me on Twitter, and I think he also follows you, Tone. So what the hell, Jack?
I know.
All right, gentlemen, and also to say for everybody, right? Jack Dorsey, we do know, CEO of Twitter, but he's also the CEO and founder of Square. So Tone, do you have a response to what Jimmy was saying? And specifically, I agree with Jimmy that in the long run, he's very pro Bitcoin, and it's common for companies to take a loss or just a small profit margin for a long-term strategy.
Yeah, it sounds like, why did they buy $34 million worth of Bitcoin ahead of time? Why aren't they hedging that? Why didn't they?
No, I don't think they bought it ahead of time.
That's what it sounds like in the article.
No, I think they buy on the market as soon as they get a somebody buying on their app. They
Oh,
go
okay. So
on-
it's just
yeah,
showing that. Okay, so that was basically their margin. Oh, okay. So they're not
Yeah.
buying ahead of time. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made a few $100,000. I mean, it's good. They're not. I don't think they're doing it to make money. I mean, it would be nice if they made money, but I think they're just doing it for the right reasons, actually. And the money will come, kind of like podcasters, hopefully. But yeah. So no, it's great. I mean, they're not losing money, which is important. And yeah, if they can continue to be popular, it's great.
Giacomo, do you have a response to this? And also, do you think that the process that Cash App is seamless or Square? I mean, do you like it?
Yeah, I kind of like it. I mean, I think that I really see two different classes of Bitcoin users. There are the real Bitcoin users that need censorship resistance and privacy, the reason Bitcoin itself exists. And so this user will have to use Bitcoin independently of these counterparties. They will to learn to use to store private keys. They will have to probably use decentralized markets in order to avoid KYC AML, because the privacy is the whole point. So this class of users will not need anything like this. While the second class of users are just investors. They just want to speculate on Bitcoin price, which is nice and it's fine. And I think that the second class of investor will be served better by traditional financial industries. And I could consider Square, like I know it's a new fintech, it's a startup, but I would consider Square more fit for this purpose than a new Bitcoin only startup like Coinbase. I mean, I would trust Square more over Coinbase in order to serve the KYC folks, while the non-KYC folks do not need them anyway.
Yeah, I agree. I think I think that that's very interesting. And so, I mean, Square has done incredibly, right? It's a publicly listed company. And I don't remember the statistic, but in the past 12 months, their shares have just been killing it. Yesterday with this news, they went down a bit, but I think that it's a fantastic company as well. Don't you have a last comment before we switch?
No, we're good. We can move on. Jimmy, did we lose your video?
I guess this keeps happening every time with Zoom. I'll come back in a second.
All right, cool.
Because you're in the DJ booth. You're just preparing.
All right, let's move on.
Okay, so Telegram. So as we all know, Telegram was ICOing. They still are. What they've canceled is their public coins. So it was only the private that they're keeping for select investors. I believe if we move down, it's 200 investors that were allowed to go into it. Tone, Telegram is your favorite. What do you think what do you think about the story?
This is just bad on all levels, right? So the hype is real. The hype is stupid. Telegram is an app that doesn't actually make much money with a lot of competitors, right? So I'm not sure how they were going to make money. So this was a way for Telegram to capitalize on their name and their, fame and their usage by basically getting a bunch of money in to the point where they had no plans, like minor plans, to do something with it. Basically, as far as I'm concerned, this was a way for Telegram to just make a bunch of money from what they call qualified investors, right? Which by definition is right. They went after the rich people. So they got 1.7 billion in the door, basically based on hype. There's nothing there, right? They're promising they're going to build out like a new app that's supposed to do this, and that. And as far as I'm concerned, they're just making stuff up, right? I love Telegram. It's my favorite messaging app. It's not that different from most of the other messaging apps, like, for example, WhatsApp or Viber or Kakao Talk or WeChat. I like it better. I mean, they recently got hacked, so that's not good. I like the app for usability purposes, but there's not much innovation there other than it's just another user-friendly messaging app. And what this seems like is they're canceling the public ICO for two reasons. One is they don't want to deal with the regulatory scrutiny of selling those tokens to unqualified investors. And two, they realized they have too much money that they raised in the private sale. So again, this is the problem when it's a wild, wild west of investing with unqualified investors. Because if qualified investors were never given them $1.7 billion for whatever it is they're planning on doing. And now what the situation that they have created is those 200 people, the rich people that everyone is saying, how come only the rich get to invest in these, pre-shares? Now the regular people can't invest in this at all. So all that this ICO did is make the rich even richer than the current model, because now only they have the pre-shares, and those pre-shares will go to the public. And now they've shrunken the supply so that they don't dilute those early investors. And now, if every single person that has ever said we need the ICO model to prevent the rich from getting richer, you have just taken the idea, the stupid idea that you had before, that only the rich get to get richer from VCs, and you've multiplied that by 10, where only the richer get to get even richer. I mean, I never agreed with it to begin with, but under this 10x version of the rich getting richer, you did it. You took the original VC model, you pretended to give something back to the people, and you made it worse. And that's exactly what this is to me.
Jimmy, do you have a response to this? And also regarding the fact that they're publicly saying that they've raised more money during the private sale that apparently they know what to do with. Do you think potentially that this was always the plan, or that they're just stepping back?
Yeah, I mean, this is completely expected. I don't know. The sort of things that are happening in the ICO world are just absolutely bonkers, and it's due to the fact that we're under a fiat money regime, and there's like way more money that is out there than can actually be useful, and the government keeps printing it, and people can't keep it in a bank account because it gets like 0.01% or something. They buy a treasury, it's like 2%. If they buy something else, it's stocks and real estate, they look overinflated. So they end up becoming LPs, and these venture firms need to actually invest the money. Telegram sounds good. They have a lot of users. They don't really have a way to monetize that yet. So of course they're going to get a crap ton of money. The fact that they did this as an ICO is actually kind of a genius move, because they have no obligation to any of these stakeholders, unlike what you would have with a traditional VC. So I imagine they're going to just like sort of, do stuff with this money. What I'm finding is that a lot of these ICOs, they end up becoming sort of venture firms themselves, because they have so much money, they don't know what to do with it. They end up like investing in other ones. It's kind of like ICOs investing in ICOs, investing in ICOs. It's like turtles all the way down. I don't know what's going to happen here, but yeah, I mean, I wish open source could get the kind of contribution that Telegram just got, and that it's kind of a sad commentary on people's greed that they're, more willing to do this than something else.
Giacomo, do you have a response to Jimmy? And also, what do you think will happen post ICO?
So I agree with Ton and Jimmy. In my opinion, ICOs can serve three purposes. The first is marketing, because blockchain tokens so raise more attention that is due for the project itself. So novelty and hype. The second purpose is getting money without giving to the investors anything. So without diluting your real shares and so scamming investors. The third purpose could be circumventing regulation. So selling securities to unqualified investor or to the secondary market, bearer instrument like. So the difference that the two first uses are legal mostly, but dishonest. While the third use will be honest but illegal. Telegram is clearly not trying to use tokens and coins in order to circumvent regulatory barriers, because they don't need it. They mostly use it for the first reason. They just, Telegram could just do a very good public offering, because they are a good system. They're Telegram is nice. They could just go public. They choose to do an ICO in order to increase the hype around them. Legal, but scammy.
Yeah, one last question to you, Jimmy. So you have here the Pantera Capital saying they're biting off more they can chew, especially regarding to blockchain. They specifically announced that originally that the capital raise was for the launch of a new project initiative. It didn't really say any specifics about it, but do you have a thought or understanding of what they're trying to launch?
I don't, and I'm curious if they have some other project, because the thing about an ICO, the terms are extremely crazy beneficial for the company and like almost nothing for the investor, and they purposely sort of word it that way. So they might have sold that, but they have no obligation to actually follow through. They could do whatever the hell they want with the money, because almost always in the ICO terms and conditions, it says this token is not worth anything. It doesn't give you a claim to anything. It doesn't do anything. So in that way, I'm actually curious, like what they actually sold, because in a sense, this could become like sort of legalized fraud. But you piss off powerful people, you're gonna get some blowback.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like the model that Mycelium started a while back, where they tokenized on a product to be named later. And that seems like what a lot of these applications that are currently running and have clients and have customers, but are running out of money because their product does not bring in any revenue. So, hey, how do we pay ourselves now that we have a great working product? Let's create an ICO. We sell a bunch of tokens, a bunch of shares. It may not be illegal yet. Let's do it before it is. And we're going to sell them under the disguise of it's for a product to be named later.
Yeah, and there's a term for this that I heard in Korea. It's a reverse ICO. You take an existing company and you raise more money by utilizing some sort of ICO and basically raise money with zero obligations. It's a great business, or a great way to raise money, basically, in that you could keep going for a very long time.
Well, the only thing that really bothers me about the story is that why does it have to be the messenger that I use the most, right? Why can't it be like any other messenger on the market, right? And a lot of people are commenting that like their encryption features suck, and I'm like, you know what? No one uses encryption anyway. Like no one cares. Like I don't use their encryption feature. I use it very rarely. I mean, it's a lot better than WhatsApp that ducks your phone number if someone adds you into a group. I know WhatsApp, you can just steal all the messages if you're on somebody else's Wi-Fi. I don't know if Telegram has that feature as well. But like no one cares about privacy really. So all it is just a money grab. I'm sorry. And it's I know the CEO is like really pissed at Russia because they took away his other company when he did a company called Kontakty, which is like the Facebook of Russia. And they took that away from him, and they're trying to ban Telegram now in Russia. So he's not a very good standing with the government. And I know you want to be a rebel, but if this is how you want to do it, to bring in a few $1 billion in an unqualified way and then figure out what to do with it, I mean, sure. But you're opening a Pandora's box for everybody else to do the same, and it's going to end very, very badly.
Yeah, and to Tone's point earlier about the United States regulatory environment, Telegram, my understanding, is headquartered in the UK in London. And this article specifically focuses on how the SEC is coming to crack down on ICOs, although they are dragging their feet way too long. However, so is so many governments around the world, especially the UK has been talking about it a lot. So to be determined on where they're actually incorporated, but I think that they're going to get in a lot of trouble potentially anywhere that they're operating. So I think to be continued on this story. Tony, you want to move?
Yeah, no, just last comment. And it's very obvious that Pantera are just haters because they didn't invest. They weren't one of the first 200 people in the pre-ICO. So it's very, very obvious that they're just hating on the ICO because they weren't in and they didn't buy in. I mean, that's the obvious excuse, right? That's what everyone else tells us about Ethereum and other things. But and the other thing I was going to add is, look, so far, everything they did is probably borderline legit, right? They raised money from people. They checked that they had over $1 million. I mean, it's possible that the person could have been like 16 with $1 million, but if they did any kind of KYC, so they handed out a bunch of shares to, qualified investors. That's great. What happens next? And I asked this question to a lot of these ICO companies, but what happens next is your token starts being traded on an unlicensed, unregistered, un-KYC'd exchange where 12 and 13-year-olds speculate.
So you can't do that. You can't put this coin on Poloniex. They won't take it. And you can't put it on Bittrex either. Way they have to do it.
Can you explain that?
So the way it works is there's specific exchanges, like altcoin exchanges, that are going to do KYC. And for where you have to prove that you're a qualified investor before you can get a login. And that's how these tokens are supposed to trade. I believe that's the plan here. You can't.
How do they control that? I don't know. How do they control that? Right? Like if I go an ICO tomorrow and compete with Binance for an exchange where I don't want to KYC anyone, hell yeah, I'm going to list this token. It'll be at the top of my list. Who's going to stop me?
As Binance? Or
no, not as Binance. Like let's say I go and launch a Binance competitor. ICO it so that I make $18 billion to launch my exchange, and the purpose of the exchange is going to be not to KYC anyone. I'm gonna have a bunch of money to pay enough lawyers. I'm gonna create an exchange. I'm gonna be hands off. It's gonna be as decentralized as it could be. And,
so the minute you make an exchange,
I'm gonna list this token. So that's for the sole purpose of 12-year-olds trading it.
Yeah. So the thing about this Telegram one, I don't know if it's a security token or whatever, but the fact, if they wanted to, they could make it so that they're only listed on exchanges where you have AML, where you have to prove that you're an accredited investor.
No, but my question is how? How isn't it an ERC20? If it's an ERC20, how do they control that?
I mean, it's centralized, right? Like they can just say, well, if you transfer it outside of these laws, then we're not going to let you get whatever. Well, if I can prove
that this token is centralized, people won't want it anymore.
No. All of these tokens are centralized.
Jimmy, I'm sorry. The whole reason why these tokens pump like crazy is because 90% of the world are too stupid to realize that they're centralized.
No. That's not why they're pumping. They're pumping because they think it's an asymmetric bet, and they think it'll go up a lot more. That's the only reason. It's not because they think it's decentralized. They're all centralized, Tone, and we know that.
I know that.
Yeah, and so therefore they can do whatever.
Oh, let's hear Giacomo back in.
Giacomo, you were about to say something.
I was just saying that I think Tone is, as I do very often, is overestimating the average information about this stuff. But then he just corrected. People doesn't really know that this stuff is centralized. ERC20s are not just centralized because, of course, people can pass around the token, but then the central entity that issued the token can just decide or be forced not to redeem the token. So the first centralization is obvious. You have a central issuer, and so it will just refuse to redeem the token if the path of the token is not okay. But there is a second form of centralization. Actually, in ERC20, every time you transfer a token from one wallet to the other wallet, you have to send the token back. Well, you have to call the original contract back. So it's a call to the original contract. So even the token transfer system is way worse than what eCash was during David Cham, because it's not even blind signature. It's completely centralized. You have the token issuer that is able to actually stop everything and can see everything and basically controls everything.
Yeah, that's part of the ERC20 standard, is that you have to call back to the original contract. And if the contract, like one of the things they're talking about is dynamic updating of these contracts, they could do that. They could just basically ban whatever transactions they don't like. And remember, with Telegram, they sold to institutional investors. They know exactly who owns them. And if any of them tries to sell on some random exchange in China these tokens, they'll just be like, okay, well, you violated our terms. Therefore, we're not going to you basically forfeited your coins or whatever your investment is in us.
No,
So,
Jimmy, if they do that, no one will ever buy these ICOs again.
we've been saying that for years, Tone. Like that's not a good enough reason.
Right.
Guys,
Right.
I'm going to jump in here and push back a little bit. I truly think that Tone's just bitter because he wanted to do a Tone coin, and that would promote his DJ, business. And so, there's ulterior motives here a little bit, but moving on to the next story, but also to say Tone and I, prior to this story or prior to the show, had a little debate about GBTC and its similarities. So just to say, this benefits the wealthy at the beginning, but it's commonly done for IPOs. If you look at pretty much any IPO, except for recently with Spotify, I did find that one interesting. But with GBTC, it being a fund, accredited investors were the only ones that were allowed in at the beginning, and then it was released to the public as a pink sheet. So this is definitely damn different because it's an ICO. But at the same time, just so that people understand the specifics of that, this practice has been done on the NASDAQ and et cetera, for forever. So moving.
I find it interesting because that practice is known as a reverse merger. That's how they got it onto the public market.
Yes.
This is exactly what they're doing with Telegram. They're doing a reverse ICO to get it sort of on the public market.
Right.
I imagine this will continue.
Yes.
And either it's on purpose or they don't realize it, that by not issuing additional shares to the general public, they just made every single one of those, investors, the 200 people, infinitely richer, right? Because all of a sudden, it was supposed to be a giant dilution because they were supposed to offer way more shares to the general public, which they're now not doing. So anyway, I'm just
sorry, Tom. Doesn't it mean also less liquidability of the asset? So maybe now these buyers they are richer because they're not diluted, but they are also less liquid than if they actually do go to the public, because maybe then they could just.
Well, right. Well, this is the similarity with GBTC, right? It's the same kind of thing where the demand is outstripping supply, causing GBTC to be trading at 100% premium or more to the underlying Bitcoin.
Right.
Well, maybe we'll see an LVO. Okay, have to say it. Looks like Vitalik sharded. Okay, sorry. I had to do it. Okay, so Vitalik, my understanding is they actually haven't yet, but they're coming closer to completion of releasing the partial proof of concept for Ethereum's sharding tech. Giacomo, I don't fully understand what sharding is. Can you start by just explaining what he's doing?
Yeah, basically. So the problem with blockchain is that unlike centralized system, which are more efficient, you have all the nodes who has to download, validate, and partially store all the updates in the status of the system forever. So in normal system, like if I use the PayPal app on my cell phone, I don't download and verify information. Well, I don't verify anything because it's centralized, but anyway, I don't download or upload information about Jimmy's purchases. I just get the data I need. While on Bitcoin, every node needs to download and validate every single information forever. That means that if my daughter will start running her full node in, let's say in 2 years, because after that she will be too old, she will be supposed to download and validate all the history of Bitcoin since 2009 up to 2 years in the future, all of that. And regarding every single transaction ever happened by anybody. Sharding and pruning as the two main strategies to try to avoid this situation, which is inherently unscalable. And also very, very bad for privacy, because you will always be forced to see everything by anybody. So sharding is the space strategy, while pruning is the time strategy. Sharding means that instead of validating everything on a state, you validate just a subset. So it's like Bitcoin transactions, or in this case, Ethereum transactions, crypto kittens, are divided into shards. And in order to be trustless, you have just to validate your shard, and you have to validate a proof that other shards are behaving correctly, but without validating all the specific transaction on the shard. So like let's imagine that Bitcoin is divided into shard 1, 2, and 3. I am a user in the shard 1, paid by another user on the shard 1, I don't need to validate every transaction, the shards 2 and 3. I just validate the shard 1 and a generic overall high-level proof of shard 2 and shard 3 without going into details of those shards. So this is I don't know if Jimmy agrees with me about what I'm saying, but I would say that side chains as an idea are effectively a form of sharding. So you have a separate system and the main system, one system just have to have the proof of overall correctness of the other systems without getting into details of how the other system works.
Jimmy, do you want to respond?
Yeah, I would say that's kind of right. I think sidechains are a lot more elegant than the sharding that these guys are talking about. You know, you have like very specific gateways into the sidechain and back. With Ethereum sharding, you just sort of like throw it out there, and then if it's in a particular shard, or you have to go validate. I mean, sharding is a way for them to reduce the load that a full node needs to have, and they're realizing, oh my God, people are way overloading this thing, and their stuff isn't very efficient in the first place, and they've got, you know, CryptoKitties and God knows how many other games now that are sort of utilizing their blockchain. So, you know, they need to scale. This is their sort of solution to scaling a blockchain. I've said this before, a blockchain is just a really slow database for a lot of these things. And if you're creating a game on Ethereum, you're just making a game that operates extremely slowly because it has to be computed by absolutely everybody, which is kind of stupid in my opinion. But, you know, sharding it makes sense from a centralized perspective. If it's supposed to be decentralized, it doesn't make any sense at all, because you're not master of your node anymore. You're only master of like 1/10 of the node or whatever it is. And you can only really validate things in that particular region. You know, it makes sense for Ethereum because they're completely centralized, and they're trying to go under the banner of decentralization while being centralized, which kind of rankles me a little bit. But you know, they are what they are. They have very good marketing and all that stuff. So yeah, I don't know. It's what they have to do, and what they'll continue to do, because their blockchain is just getting enormous.
Tone, do you have a final comment on this?
Yeah, I think these guys don't know anything about tech. Let me tell you what sharding actually is. No, I am so unqualified to speak to the story, other than I have been appealing to authority on the technical issues of Ethereum and scaling and lots of other things, blockchain, which is why I have taken a position that Ethereum is one of the dumbest projects. I mean, before Ethereum actually launched, before there was any technological complaints on it, I had plenty of complaints from a regulatory perspective and a financial perspective on it. Now that I have more reasons to hate Ethereum due to its technological effect and the fact that it can't scale. And the reason why I'm very confident in saying it can't scale is pretty much the way I'm confident that gravity exists, because I believe the scientists that tell me that, you know, how gravity works. So it's the same thing here. So I've been a huge critic of Ethereum. That started as my own understanding of, you know, security law and my understanding of economics and why Ethereum wasn't going to work, even if their tech was legit. And the more and more I talk to people like Jimmy and Giacomo and, you know, other core developers, and the more I understand that their tech is also grossly inefficient. So we'll see. And I remain with my statement that the sooner this beast dies, the better off everybody will be, and the less systemic risk to the overall potential global system or economy we'll have.
Right. And thank you, Jimmy and Giacomo. I learn from you guys every day. It will be interesting to see the success or not of integrating this into Casper, and when exactly they're going to roll that out into their roadmap. Tone?
But see, Leah, sorry to interrupt you again, but the problem is that we will not see the success of sharding or the insuccess of sharding with Ethereum. That's what Jimmy was saying. Since the Ethereum context is not decentralized, it's not adversarial, because they can just roll back everything. Nobody is running a full node in Ethereum, basically, beside the foundation anymore. So the situation is so centralized that is unlikely right now to even, I mean, we could say Ethereum is useless, but at least we can use it as an experiment, even a fuck up experiment for sharding. But that's not even the case because it's so centralized that it will probably work just like everything else will work, because nobody can attack or retain the things that they stole after the attack. Sorry to interrupt
you. We were on mute. Good. Thank you, Giacomo. I'm explaining that I'm learning more. So, Jimmy, to learn more even further. So you just published Why Hard Forks Are Altcoins. I love this because I am still a noob, consider myself so, and learned a lot from your article. I'll just point it to you. Can you talk about your article?
Yeah, so I did a video the other day just sort of explaining where I was coming from. But basically, if you can sort of separate every coin into its ledger plus software, you can think of any upgrade of a software or upgrade of a software as being sort of a software or a hard fork, or backwards compatible or backwards incompatible. As soon as you make it backwards incompatible, you need to start the ledger at a certain place, and the hard forks that sort of have consensus or whatever are basically taking the state of the old ledger and just sort of continuing on with it. And I argue that every hard fork is essentially a new coin, right? Like when Ethereum hard forks, what they're doing is they're creating a new coin, and they're just sort of taking the name Ethereum and then just sort of continuing on. And that was sort of like, that shows sort of the centralization nature of it. But a lot of these coins just aren't that new, right? Like every time you do a hard fork, you essentially have a new ledger that you're doing. And one of the reasons why this rankles a lot of people is because with like the DAO hack, what Ethereum did was they reset the ledger as part of their software upgrade. And if you look at it in those terms, every hard fork is really just an altcoin, every single one. And if you, from that lens, it's just sort of like new products that are sort of being brought to market. It just so happens that a lot of people don't find the old chain, old ledger, old software valuable, although I think that's changing now. I think when Monero announced their hard fork, they split into like 4 different coins or something like that. I imagine that will continue whenever Ethereum has the next hard fork. That's definitely going to cause at least 2 coins, and that's part of it. The other thing that I point out in this article is that given that it's just a ledger and software, if you were really being honest and launching a hard fork, quote unquote, what you would do is more like what Bitcoin Private and Bitcore have done, which is just take the UTXO set and start the ledger that way instead of taking the entire history, which is very, which costs a lot on the blockchain to keep. Instead, you can just take the UTXO set and go from there, and that would reduce the block size significantly. And from a user perspective, from a network perspective, it wouldn't be any different. So I don't know. The line between altcoin and hard fork is very blurry to me. Something like Bitcoin Gold, they did a mid block pre-mine. Really, they just set the ledger so that it had all of the Bitcoin UTXOs plus some UTXOs for themselves. And I imagine that's the way forward for a lot of these hard forks. It's really just an altcoin launch. I think people just need to know that.
Giacomo, what was your favorite part of the piece?
Well, I think that this point that it's new to me, the point that actually recycling all the old history is stupid because you are just reusing a trusted setup. I mean, you are trusting that software like we all trusted the Genesis block at the beginning. It was a focal point of the launch. So yeah, Jim is completely right. The idea to transport, to migrate all the past history is super stupid because anyway, you are re-centralizing the consensus over the specific UTXO set of that moment. So this is great. I totally agree with Jimmy on anything. I'm amused that the same people that, well, maybe this is unfair, maybe it's not exactly the same people, but the same group of people, which is often about Bcash, trying to sell the notion that Bcash is not an altcoin, we just happen to be airdropped, just like Stellar Lumen or Bitcoin Private or Bitcoin Gold or whatever, but it is actually Bitcoin. The same people is trying to sell the idea that Lightning Network Bitcoins are actually altcoins. So they are stretching the definition of altcoin so much in order to include a perfectly valid Bitcoin transaction just kept off chain and settable on chain anytime you want. But on the other hand, you stretch the definition on the other direction in order to make so that the altcoin like Bcash or B Private or B Gold are actually Bitcoin. And there is a very, very telling overlap between these two equally technically stupid narratives. Oh, I said stupid. No, that's a spoiler. So anyway, that's a great article. I really liked it.
Tone, what were your thoughts?
No, just quickly add, because we don't want to get to the price. Look, I think that as a little more time goes by, that's it. Bitcoin's going to continue to separate, because I can still download the entire Bitcoin blockchain, and Bitcoin's useful. And as more of these forks and stuff come around, it'll be harder and harder to do that. Like in Ethereum, it's impossible to download the entire history of Ethereum transactions, as the previous story talked about. They're going to go into sharding. They're going to go into all this other stuff. But so Bitcoin will continue to separate. And Giacomo's right. It's so frustrating that these people think that their altcoin is the real Bitcoin, and then they're going to talk about how Lightning transactions are altcoins when it's nowhere near that. And this is the problem. Like, so much energy and time is spent debating stupid that it's so hard to get any work done.
Yeah. Again, Jimmy, thank you so much for this piece. I love the part about the CPA. My CPA hates me. So I would agree with that one. It's sunny here, but Jimmy, weather report. Oh, Giacomo.
No. We gotta look at Giacomo's tweet storm.
Hey, and right before we do that, just so you know, an article got published that the lawsuit against Bitcoin.com finally has a donation address. Though I didn't really see it in the article, but there is a dedicated website. What was it there? Oh, there it is. Perfect. We can take a look how much it has. Maybe not a good idea to do it on air, but let's see if it's loading. All right, that's the official website. So please only use the official website. Scammers are everywhere. There it is. It's on our way to
$4,000. Yeah, almost $4,000.
Cool. Probably Roger has unlimited money, so there'll be more needed. But there is a donation address now. This is legit, as far as I know. I've already looked into it, spoken to a few people. This has not failed my scam radar. This seems like a real initiative, and that it will be a class action lawsuit against the Bitcoin.com website for, screwing people up. And if you do have a legal claim where the Bitcoin.com wallet or the Bitcoin.com website has cost you money by selling you fake Bitcoin, please join the Telegram group that's on the website and explain your story if you're willing to go on the record. And I'm probably going to be interviewing people involved in this. Once I'm informed of who the lawyer is, maybe we'll do an interview or something, come on my channel. So we'll figure it out.
So we'll follow this.
Yeah, we're following the story.
Giacomo, this was fabulous. I'm going to let you go to it, but I'm just going to say this part. I think makes you and every other Bcash who isn't intentionally malicious stupid.
So I cannot predict which kind of tweet storm will go viral or not. And that's kind of frustrating, because sometimes I write a tweet storm about some kind of elaborated thought I'm having, and I pat myself on the shoulder like, this is a very great work, and nobody really considers it. And sometimes just something that was supposed to be a direct and very, also not very nice on my side, but some people criticize me because it's all about the word stupid. But actually, the thing is that Chris Pasha asked me if I really think that he is pumping Bcash because he wants to profit from N-chain, Craig Wright scam patents. And I said naturally, without thinking about it, no, I don't think that everybody is a liar in your camp. Some of you are just stupid. And he said, I would like to have a detailed discussion about all the reasons do you think I'm stupid? And so I just naturally came out with all the reasons I thought he is stupid, but it was the premise, so I couldn't be any nicer. Actually, Chris responded. I think it mostly didn't get most of my points, but I will try to respond again, not now because I'm super tired and I have to use the time when my child sleeps in order to sleep as well. So maybe on Saturday or something like that, I will try to make an article out of this tweet storm. The base point are you could say that this is just the typical assumptions that are behind Bitcoin, so-called Bitcoin maximalists. Many people, also people commenting about this show, they are also always telling you are blind in order not to see altcoins and how altcoins will have success. And there is very solid reasoning under that. It's not just being picky or being choosy, the fact that we don't like altcoins. There is a solid economic and technological reasoning under that. And I tried to expose it in a systematic way, and people kind of appreciated it. Thank you, everybody who retweeted and complimented.
Jimmy, you want to respond?
Well, I mean, first of all, this should be a Medium post, man. Like, I think this would be a classic. I think you sort of like laid out all of the reasons, sort of point by point. I mean, you like went through like a lawyer, 5.1, 5.2, 6.1. I think it would be really nice to have it in sort of like a post that people can refer to. It definitely belongs in Jameson Lopp's Bitcoin Resources. So yeah, I mean, if you haven't read it, it's like 30 tweets long. So it takes you like an hour to read the whole thing because you have to keep scrolling on stupid Twitters, whatever. But yeah, take a look at it. It's well worth reading, well worth sending. Maybe start some fights with some people that support Bitcoin Cash.
Tone?
I will.
So my view on this, I haven't read it yet, but I will. It's on my to-do list for today. But like my view on it is this, right? So like 90% of the time, someone picks a fight with you on Twitter over, Bcash, and then you look and they have like 8 followers. And then it's like, why do I want to waste my time on someone that is grossly unimportant, like completely unimportant, right? Like the internet has already decided that your opinion doesn't matter. And you want me to devote my attention to you when it could be on something way more important, right? So that's one problem. The other problem is when it's time to debate people like fake Satoshi, even Roger himself at this point, right? Look, I'm sorry. I don't want to give a minority opinion 50% of the stage, right? It's like me going on stage and debating a flat earther, or me going on stage as a geologist and debating someone that believes in flat earth, debating someone that the sun still goes around the earth, or debating someone that thinks the earth is 6,000 years old. So like, yes, a lot of people believe in that stuff. I think it's crazy, but enough people believe in it that there are popular people with those opinions and with that research. But that's still like what, less than a 1% reality of an opinion. And by taking on the most popular person in that group and putting him on a platform like one of the more popular channels in the space, or one of the more popular Twitters in the space, and that goes for Jimmy as well, and you, Giacomo, or a core developer for that matter, like, why are you giving someone with a minority view such a big stage for them to show their view? Like, no matter who you fight with in this space, it's just stupid, which is why I'm trying to avoid these things as much as I can.
Well, I think that you make a good point, but I think this point cannot be made absolute. It's a very difficult strategy decision, actually, in my opinion. On one hand, if you have some stupid theory that is a minority theory and is crazy, you don't want to debate it, because debating it, you kind of legitimize it somehow, like the other part of the spectrum. And at the same time, you give it visibility, and they use your visibility. So this is completely right. Also, they take your time. because they basically stale your work on other stuff. Like I didn't got paid to write this stuff while I have work to do for my clients.
Right.
Which is very time consuming. So ignoring is a good tactic unless this kind of craziness is really taking some kind of momentum, and so debating, and so a lot of people, which is not necessarily very stupid or necessarily very malicious, but maybe it's just not informant, it's just ignorant because they just came inside the situation right now. So let me put it this way: if 1% or even 10% looking at 20% looking at the price of Bcash over Bitcoin, if 20% of people discussing geology were flat earthers, and I knew that people were starting in billions to ask themselves what is the shape of the earth. So we all know that the earth is a geoid, which is not flat, but that's a common knowledge since probably decades or actually centuries. But if people were starting to approach this problem now, people that don't know anything about the structure of the earth, and you have a very, very overrepresented group of flat earthers, like something around 20%, especially outside the strictly geological academy, then you are on the other side of the problem. You should spend some time debating it, because otherwise people which is not necessarily smart or malicious, dumb or malicious, will just acquire that there is a symmetric debate, while there isn't, of course. People should know clearly that there is, I mean, the best would be, like you said, like Jimmy said, the best would be to have some low, not time-consuming references that we can just put out all the time in order to debunk all the major
right, but they're always making up more and more stuff, and I'm already seeing like people commenting in our live chat saying, oh, so it's someone with like 10 followers on Twitter you're saying is not important. Well, I'm not saying they're not important. I'm just saying that I don't know if they're important or not. And since I have 150,000 followers, I can't exactly reply to every single person that replies to my tweets, because there's not enough time in the world for me to do that. So I got to pick and choose who I reply to. And what ends up happening is I end up replying to the people that lie the most about something that I have said that I've never actually said. And how is that productive?
Well, so we're talking about sort of like no platforming people or whatever. I think people should do whatever they want, right? Like there's no morality here about like who you should answer and who you shouldn't or whatever. It's entirely up to the individual. If you wanna engage with some of these people, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine also. But you know, those are decisions best left up to the market. I don't want to like have some sort of like cartel that decides, okay, we are going to debate or we aren't going to debate. You're free to do whatever the hell you want. Okay, there's no like moral obligation to not debate or to debate a person that you disagree with. I mean, that's sort of the beauty of a decentralized system, is that everyone gets to do whatever the hell they want, and that's the kind of system that I want to be in.
Yeah, and last comment is just, you know, Giacomo, I really appreciate what you wrote. I mean, the power of knowledge, but and then why I think that this YouTube channel is important, learning from you guys. I was not on any social media and I had no Twitter. So I probably would have been the person asking with the 2 Twitter followers, and hopefully Tone would have responded, but maybe not. But so I will evoke Jimmy's comment that please do make a Medium post out of this, because I did learn a lot. So thanks.
I will. I think people should know that I have some serious mental issues. So if people ask me to write an article, even paying me, I will take probably 2 months. And if I just think that if I think that I'm just tweeting 3 tweets and I will just take 5 minutes, I would just tell my wife, wait, I'm just tweeting 3 tweets very, very fast. And then they become 40. And I trick myself into tweet storms. I do tweet storms because I cannot stop them. But
you should use the same hack for a Medium post. Just like 1 paragraph. That's it.
Yeah. So I promise I will write one paragraph Medium post about it.
Yeah. Yes. And Jimmy, moving on to the weather report.
Yeah, it looks like it's the same as yesterday. A lot of people overpaying for a lot of these transactions, but they're getting clear. You could probably get it in for 1 Satoshi per byte if you're willing to wait. If you need it right away, you're probably going to need to pay in the 20, 25, maybe even 50 range. But don't worry too much. Don't sweat things. It's normal for transaction volumes to grow throughout the day and then come down in the middle of the night and stuff. So, this is the nature of markets, is that, those who are squeezed have to pay a little more.
Thank you, Jimmy. And also, Giacomo, just one last comment on your tweet storm. Be very careful, because it's hard to have worse spelling than tone, but you may win the race on this one, and it's a dangerous game. Just kidding. All right, Tone, what's going on?
All right. Before you get to the price, I have to get going. Sorry, guys, but this song is done.
Bye, Jimmy.
Any announcements, Jimmy?
The same ones as before. I'm doing a developer seminar, programming blockchain, in New York, Toronto, Sao Paulo, and Denver in the next few months. Please sign up if you're interested. Also splitting a lot of coins. I recently got Bitcoin interest and something else. I don't know what BTP stands for, but whatever that is, I'm splitting for people. So there you go.
Thanks, Jimmy.
All right. Bye, guys.
All right, guys. I put Jimmy on the big screen, but we're going to go back to screen share once I figure out how to do that again. Hold on. Oh, there it is. All right, hold on. Boom.
I just see Giacomo.
All right,
There
here we go. Okay, so here's the price of Bitcoin. The week started off pretty weak, and now we're bouncing back a little bit. We're back near the top of the range of 94.50. So once again, for me, the overall environment remains slightly bearish. However, the short-term outlook has now become a little bit more bullish, right? Because this goes back to my outlook on the whole double top situation. So those of you that watched, well, we missed it yesterday. I think my computer is finally back to normal. I actually turned it in yesterday in Manhattan, where I was all day, and I might have gotten it fixed actually. So let's see. Well, let's hope. Maybe my $2,500 computer is no longer a paperweight. So as you can see by this arrow, I expected a breakdown in prices if we were to go below that red line. And as luck would have it, I have not moved any of these lines. In fact, I haven't even had my computer in my hands most of the day yesterday. And as you can see, we stayed above that. And there's plenty of little white space between the bottom of the candle and the red line. There's also a little bit of space between the red line and the red arrow. That was there on purpose, because I was looking for prices to break down if that took place. Now, a couple of people commented on this candle because I drew this red line saying you had a red 2 going below a red 1. But at the time, this candle was so much lower. So this is why the red 2 was showing me, even though the moment this candle went under this prior candle on the 430, it wasn't actually a red 2. So someone asked me on Twitter, like, hey, what would you have done? Because as we were breaking this red line, it's not really a red 2 below a red 1. And I'm like, oh, you're right. It wasn't. When I was looking at it down here, it was. And my answer was, in that case, I would wait for the next candle to be below the current candle, which never actually happened. So if you look back on my Twitter, you will see that. So I remain of the position that you're stuck between these lines, the red and the blue. So the blue, I should probably make green at this point. However, you just got another death cross. You got 128 is now touching the 200-day, and tomorrow you will start to see separation between them. So that is another, bearish nail in the price of Bitcoin. And it remains more neutral today than the last time I did a video. I'm still not going to go as high as calling anything here bullish. We can still break out to the upside and maybe hit $10,000. I was hoping we would go into this cross and then it becomes a shorting opportunity. And right now it's still stuck in a no trade zone. which is also obvious based on the indicator flipping color from green to red to green to red, which is what normally happens in no trade zones. So we're not as bearish as we were the last time I did a video, but we're not bullish yet either. So I will continue to wait. Here is the 12-hour chart. And also you see this red line with a red arrow under the line, where I would have clearly said in the last video that I would wait for this line to get broken to the downside before any, probabilistic short trades were to be entered. That didn't happen. I would also not be entering any bullish trades, even though you do have a green 2 above a green 1, which is potential. But I would wait for a breakout of new highs. And remember, if it does, you're going to hit 2 moving average lines. One of them is still trending up. The other one's already trending down. So once again, I don't really see much. Here's a 4-hour chart. Everything is pretty much neutral, completely neutral, like not bullish, not bearish. Here's the 1-hour chart. Again, I'm sorry, guys, I just don't see anything here. And the 1-hour chart is getting close to a 9, which would give it some pullback. So I don't really see anything in the charts that would help you the bullish case, other than it is a little more bullish than the last time I looked at the charts.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for watching. Again, DJ's on this side. We're about to be out. It's May 3rd. You can listen to this later on iTunes. Thanks to the World Crypto Network. Giacomo?
Thanks and bye.
Hey guys, yeah, sorry, this one a little bit longer. I have a bunch of more podcasts scheduled for today. There'll probably be one with Tyler and Leah, and I'm also going to be interviewing Michael Krieger later tonight on an On the Record. So check that out. And then I have a couple of more on other people's podcasts. I'm not sure if those are going to be live or pre-recorded for later release, but this is like the day of podcasting.
Yep.
Hi guys, welcome Leah to New York. She was here all day yesterday as well. And yeah, we'll try and bring you more content.
Absolutely. Be back for consensus too. All right, everybody, have a great day.
Bye, guys.
Bye.